Hello and welcome to another Pause for Thought from the Consulting Room. This time we're just looking at a few favourite quotes with so much of the wisdom of the last 200, 300 years available on the internet in bite-sized chunks. It can be an interesting exercise to just look at a few quotes and think about how they relate to us, to our business, to our situation today and what we can learn from them. So just a quick flick through one or two that say something to me. So I'm going to start with George Bernard Shaw, who wrote Pygmalion, which My Fair Lady was based on, and very, very famous Irish playwright. And he said, "Never wrestle with a pig. I learnt long ago never to wrestle with a pig. You get dirty, and besides, the pig likes it." And I think this relates to social media. Sometimes it's easy on social media to get caught into an argument with somebody who has quite entrenched views. And it really doesn't get you anywhere. It just can be a frustrating exercise. So I use this as my maxim now for social media. When I get irritated by something I see on Twitter or Facebook or even LinkedIn, sometimes I just think, no, don't wrestle with a pig. There's no point in getting involved. Let's just move on. Life's too short to be wrestling with social media pigs. Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. Dire Straits, my all-time favourite music, and it's one of their songs is Solid Rock. It says, "When you point your finger because your plans fell through, you've got three more fingers pointing at you." I think that's a great lesson, really, that it's easy to blame other people when something goes wrong, to blame circumstances, but if you point your finger at somebody else, there are still three fingers that are pointing back at you, and ultimately we can control ourselves and how we react to things. So it's important to remember those three fingers and the responsibility you need to take for your situation, we need to take for our situations, rather than just trying to blame other people and circumstances. Really doesn't get us anywhere. Ricky Gervais, this was picture there, the publicity for Afterlife Series 3, but he was asked what the best advice he'd ever received was, and I quite like this: "No one else knows what they're doing either." I think sometimes whether you're a manager, a business owner, whatever it happens to be, you can have what's known as imposter syndrome, where you think, I'm going to get found out because I really don't know what I'm doing, and somebody's going to notice in a minute. But I think it's quite good to realise that actually probably nobody else knows what they're doing either, or at the very least, they didn't know what they were doing when they set out, and they've learnt how to do whatever it is they do. So even if we feel we don't know what we're doing now, we've got more opportunity than ever to learn whatever we need to learn. But I think it probably rings true. Most people don't really know what they're doing. Derren Brown, big Derren Brown fan as well. And this sort of relates to the last point a bit. You'd worry a lot less about what other people thought of you if you realised how seldom they do. I think a lot of people, sometimes we're held back by worrying about what other people will think about us saying something or doing something or positioning ourselves in a certain way. But actually, other people have got their own lives. We're the centre of our lives, but other people are the centre of their own lives, and they don't spend a lot of time thinking about us. So we worry what somebody else is going to think. They're probably not taking any notice of us at all. This one from Mike Tyson: "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face." As I suppose as the consulting room, we ought to be advising people to have business plans, and planning is important, and it is. But it's really important, I think, as well, not to think that a plan is a series of steps which will work, because as soon as you start putting it into action, you get punched in the face. Something will happen to push you off track. So I think two things. One, a plan. I saw a great description of this the other day, that a plan is not a playbook for exactly how it should go. A plan gives you options. Having a plan should include contingencies, and it should be, well, if that goes wrong, we can try this. So at least having a plan gives you some options. But I think also we need to think more about strategy, sort of direction of travel, the next step up. What are the strategic elements? Because they don't change. Although tactics in a plan can change, a strategy shouldn't really change fundamentally. So thinking strategically rather than tactically is important. This is Les Brown, motivational speaker from the US. And he says, "You're never too old to set another goal, dream a new dream." Great example of this was this chap, Colonel Sanders, and apparently this is his life story. So father died when he was young. He'd already lost 4 jobs by the age of 17, rejected by law school. His wife left him at the age of 20, became a cook and a dishwasher, retired at 65, and then with his check for $105 from the government, he borrowed another $87, bought some fried chicken and started trying to sell it door to door. And 20 years later, he was a billionaire. So if Colonel Sanders can start doing Kentucky Fried Chicken at the age of 65, then hopefully nobody looking at this is a bit too old to do whatever they want to do. Stephen Hawking, look up at the stars. I think as a business owner in particular, it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and what's happening now, and not just take that step back and look at the bigger picture. So look up at the stars, not down at your feet, not down at what you're trying to do today. Try to make sense of what you see. Wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious. I think that's it's really important for business owners not to get caught in the day-to-day, but to step back and look at the bigger picture and just be curious about what's happening, why things are happening, what's going to happen next, and how it affects us. Arthur Ashe won Wimbledon in 1975. Start where you are. It's easy to look backwards and say, oh, well, if only I'd done this, if only I'd done that. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Read the diaries of Alan Clark, a politician in Margaret Thatcher's government a number of years ago, and he had what he called the 1 second rule. You can't turn the clock back, not even by 1 second. There's no point in thinking about what you should have done, spending time regretting stuff, spending time looking backwards. Actually, what you can control is what happens next, what happens in the future. So start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. Very practical. A couple of more amusing ones, hopefully, to end. So this is Les Dawson. I remember reading Les Dawson's autobiography, and one of the chapters was entitled, "As one door closes, another one slams in your face." So, yeah, sometimes bad things happen in 2s, 3s, 28s. It's not always going to be smooth. It's not always going to be one bad thing, one good thing. You've got to be prepared for that. Tom Stoppard, famous playwright, did a bit more positively. Every exit is an entrance to somewhere else. So see the possibility in problems, see the opportunities in failures. Stephen Wright, a famous American comedian. Someone asked me, if I was stranded on a desert island, what book would I bring? How to build a boat. Apart from being quite amusing, I think sometimes the obvious answer is the one that we miss. We look for complexity, we look for really, really clever solutions, and sometimes it's almost that childlike. The obvious answer is the thing we should be looking for. And finally, this it's not finally. There's one more after this, but anyway, I'm nearly finished. This is I do have this pinned up next to my desk. This is Dr. Seuss from Oh, the Places You'll Go. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. It's a great message that ultimately it's down to you. It's down to me. It's down to us. You've got your brains. You've got your feet in your shoes, and you choose what direction you go. You choose what you're going to do when you stop watching this video. What you're going to do next. What you're going to do with the rest of today, the rest of the year. So don't forget you have that control. And this is the last one. Steve Jobs, if you haven't seen this Stanford commencement speech, it's really good. Tells 3 stories, really, really powerful. But one of the things is he died of cancer. He was diagnosed with cancer a few years before that. He says that remembering that you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There's no reason not to follow your heart. And he just said that shock of being diagnosed the first time with cancer and thinking, effectively being told originally he had 6 months to live, although that was wrong and he did live longer than that. But that was a real wake-up call to just think, not going to be here for very long, so make the most of what you've got. Don't think that you have something to lose. Just follow your heart, I think is the message from that video. And I think find quotes, look at quotes, just see how they relate to you, get you thinking, be curious, as Stephen Hawking says. I think there's so much wisdom out there just to tap into, and it can be in these tiny bite-sized chunks. You can watch a 5-minute video, a 20-minute video. You can read a book that takes you 2 months to read, or you can just find one quote and see how it relates to what you're going to do with the rest of your day. And I hope that whatever you're doing, it's fun. And if you want to share your favorite quote, you can do that in the comments. You can do it on our Consulting Room Facebook page, or by emailing, getting in touch with myself or Michael, as always. And yeah, we'd love to hear what your favorite quotes are. So that's Pause for Thought.